Welcome to another interesting AWS service called Amazon CloudWatch. It's AWS monitoring and compliance system. Now, if you want to ensure observability, governance, and compliance, you need CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and AWS config. In this video, we'll just be touching CloudWatch to give you clear simple example of what to use it for. So what do they do? It helps you collect metrics from your AWS resources. So what CloudWatch actually does is, you can imagine you running a very huge AWS infrastructure. You have services in different regions. You have resources in that are using high compute services. You want to be able to know what is happening. You want to be able to know when a particular service is, exceeding its usage or threshold, and you want to be able to collect this data and make business decision around it. You can set alarms to trigger notifications or actions when certain resources are hitting a certain threshold. So for an example is to say once an AC2 CPU is running 80% and above, you should be notified. This could be a way of ensuring that when your system is scaling in or scaling out. Even if you've set auto scaling for some of your resources, you probably want to know when these actions are happening. You want to also monitor a lambda invocation error and what have you. So these are simple demo steps. You can go to CloudWatch control, set metrics, create an alarm, set a threshold for the alarm, and be notified via SNS. And you can also create a CloudWatch dashboard. This is a visual matrix that is in a centralized location. So beyond getting alerts, you might want to have a particular dashboard for maybe different clients or different solutions or different resources, that once you go to your CloudWatch dashboard, you want to see what is happening on the instances in XY region. You want to know what's happening in on the resources that is housing maybe certain app or a flagship app of your organization. So you just go to CloudWatch dashboard, you create dashboard, and then you can set the widgets as you want and add your metrics for what it is. So we have what we call AWS CloudTrail for auditing. What this does is you want to be able to log every API call made on your AWS account. You want to track user activities and resource changes. And these are use cases: identify unauthorized access, audit resource provisioning history, and lots more. So a demo is to just go to AWS control, create a trail, give it a name, select the regions you want to monitor, and choose an S3 bucket you want these logs to be stored. So it's just you deliberately creating an activity log trail and specifying which of your S3 buckets this trail should be stored. So you can enable log file validation and insight. And we have a tool called Athena, which you can use to query these logs using SQL, and you can make informative decision. We'll be going into Athena in this lecture. We just want to stick to CloudWatch and setting the metrics and the dashboard. So we have what we call AWS config. This is for monitoring compliance. It records configuration changes to your AWS resource, it validates resources against predefined rules, and this helps you detect on encrypted S3 buckets, enforce tagging compliance. So pretty much how you use your AWS resources, you can also use this resource to configure how you want it to work. So you go to AWS config console, get started, choose your resource, and enable AWS config rules. So you can set the rules for an S3 bucket in this point. Like I said, the focus of this class will be the CloudWatch. I'm just running you through this to let you know other monitoring services that you can look into in your AWS. So best practices is to enable detailed monitoring where needed. You can use CloudTrail for insight to detect anomalies in your resources and how they are being used or accessed. You can regularly review your AWS config reports to know if the usage of your resources are following the organization or the set compliances. Then you set alerts on critical metrics. So this is where the CloudWatch dashboard comes in. You can visualize key indicators in your dashboard. These are the things we'll be looking at. Quickly run through how to use AWS CloudWatch and the scenarios that we have identified in this case. Alright, the first thing I'll be doing is to create an SNS topic. An SNS is simple notification service by AWS. Here you create your subscriber list where you expect your notifications to be going to, and it's called SNS topic because you need to tie different headers to the email subscription list. So I need to create a topic. I can just call it CloudWatch notice. So I'll just leave it at the standard CloudWatch notice, giving it a name. Let me just say CloudWatch notifications, and just to keep it simple, I create that topic. Now once I've created the topic, I need to create a subscriber list kind of. So which subscription am I looking at? I'm looking at an email subscription. I tie my email address to it. So this way I have ensured that once we call that topic, my luabikwe@yahoo.com will receive that email. Now this email is pending confirmation, so it means I'll go to my mailbox, and in my mailbox I just need to confirm this subscription. That way I'll subsequently be receiving email once we call that SNS topic. Alright, now I'll go to my CloudWatch. So I want to go to CloudWatch. Okay, here I want to keep it simple. I want to create an alarm. Create alarm. We set a matrix. Now setting a matrix is to specify that you want to set a matrix. What you want to monitor is what you're actually selecting. So I'll say per instance matrix. In this case, what do you want to select monitor? So just a CPU utilization. So I'm actually looking for CPU utilization. Sorry, CPU. So I select CPU utilization. This is a matrix I want to measure here. So I select matrix, and once I've selected the matrix, I look for the threshold. I leave it as static, and here is just to say once this is greater than 70. It's just pretty much saying that I want to monitor this EC2 instance, and confirming that it is, once the threshold is greater than 70, I can update this data point to say 2 out of 2. So what this does is evaluate the period by which this has been breached to be sure that this would work as it should. Now it says when should it trigger an alarm? Is it when it's okay? Is it when there's insufficient data, or when the matrix is within the alarm state? So it says select an existing SNS topic, so I'll just select CloudWatch notice. So this is just me saying that once I select this CloudWatch notice, it should send an email. That's the endpoint of this CloudWatch notice. And in a case where my CloudWatch alarm is to maybe trigger an AWS Lambda, or to take an auto scaling action. So these are other things that you can do with your CloudWatch alarm. However, we're sticking to this one, and I click on next. I give this an alarm name. I can say CPU CPU utility for EC2. So, and I say next. So with this, I've created an AWS CloudWatch alarm, which would send me an email if my EC2 instance reaches that CPU utilization threshold. Now, this state is just saying that insufficient data, meaning that I just created the alarm and there are no data for it to work with. This is just a new alarm. I'm sure if you leave this for a few hours, or just say 24 hours, there will be certain level of data that the alarm would have, the CloudWatch would have gathered, and that would determine what state it would appear. So in that case, you'll be seeing okay. The okay state will be what we'll be expecting here, and if it reaches the threshold that was set, you will see the state will change to in alarm. So that way you can always come to all your alarms and see the state of each of your CloudWatch alarm. So that's about setting CloudWatch. Now, the other thing we want to do in CloudWatch is to be able to set up a dashboard. So a dashboard is you creating different dashboard that you want to look at, and to know the health of your AWS account and resources. So I can create a dashboard. I give the dashboard name. It could be by a solution name. So let's say I have a solution called Clean HR, and this Clean HR has like 4 or 5 AWS resources that are tied, that are running behind the application. So I can choose, okay, I want this type of widget. Maybe I want to see table data, or I want to see the figures, or I want to see a pie chart of this particular widget. So I can create this different widget for the same resource. So here I choose EC2. I go through the same, because I want to see from a dashboard point of view the performance of my CPU. Sorry, it's supposed to be CPU. So I want to see CPU utilization. I might want to see my credit usage, of that CPU. I might also want to see, for instance, I want to see what the EBS read and write operations look like, and I create the widget based on this item that I've selected. And this is a widget on my screen, which with time the system will have some form of graph based on what I chose, that would form some visual analytical tool for me to be able to understand what is happening behind my AWS account. So that's one resource, one what do you call it, one dashboard. I can come back here and create another dashboard, and probably this dashboard should just be focused on Clean HR S3. So I want to know how the S3 buckets are doing for this particular resource. I can choose maybe a pie chart for this one, and I go next. So what resources would I be looking out for in this case? Let's say S3. I go into S3, and there are 4 major metrics that I can measure in S3. It could be there are 4 S3 buckets that are currently in my account, so I can choose this particular bucket, and whatever matrix that or data that this bucket might have, I can start looking at it. It could be a case where I want to measure certain labels per bucket. So sorry, let me cancel this. create another widget. So I'm creating a widget of the 3 buckets, and I want to monitor, I want to be seeing what is happening within this bucket at a glance. So this is another way of using AWS CloudWatch dashboard, and I'm sure once you have enough data in your resources, you figure out and see values on this resource. There's so many things to learn while you're doing AWS CloudWatch, and I'm sure you'll find it very interesting as you move on. So all your reports and CloudWatch data, you can share them, you can export them, depending on whatever use case that you find yourself using. So these are just a few of the values you can get from your AWS CloudWatch. So here you can share your dashboard, you can share it with another AWS user, you can choose to share it publicly, you can share it and set a username and password for any other person that you want to be seeing the metrics of your dashboard. So that's it about AWS. I would also suggest that while you're practicing resources, once you practice, you can delete resources so that you don't incur unknown costs on your AWS account. Thank you very much once again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next.